All right, let's start. So for those of you guys that don't know, this is a master tier game on a Korea server, and I'm going to be doing a commentary on it to just go through my thought process, but also critique my own play because I made a lot of mistakes in it, but I'm going to point out a lot of stuff. I haven't done a commentary game in a really long time. I think the last one that I did was a Pantheon video about a year and a half ago of Jungle. I can't recall myself doing any other since then. This game has a lot of team fights inside of it. There's a lot of interesting things that happen inside of this game. And so I thought that a video like this would be kind of interesting. The Rise player is Marin. Probably know who that is. And then the Ekko player is some 80% win rate smurf in Master Tier. So it's a pretty good game. Just going to go straight into it. So I didn't know who I would be up against. I thought perhaps maybe I was going to be against Rise. But then once I thought that there was a possibility that would be against Ekko, I wanted to try something that BDD did in a game that I was in with him a few days ago, which he just went Spell Thief's first item, and his roams on Viktor were absolutely insane. Because basically he would get to a position where he shouldn't be able to secure a gank kill. Like he would be down here or something, and then he would activate Spell Thief or something if he's coming down, from top or mid or whatever. And then normally we would be able to escape if we're like here, and he's the top dot. But because of Spell Thieves, he would actually be able to catch up regardless of flash, and then his teammates would be able to obviously get on our backs as well, and then it would secure kills. But it was also really strong for his roams in top lane, and so I thought it would be kind of good because they're extremely reliant on mobility, Rise and Ekko inside of teamfights, and I felt like it could provide a lot of utility and enable us to stick even more, but also have a lot of control because Ekko is so reliant on his combo factor, and so is Rise. So I thought it would be nice. But I think that the way that I itemized into it, I think was poor, regardless. Because there was some definite issues, and I really underestimated how difficult it would be to maintain mana in lane against Ekko without the Doran's ring, and it was kind of brutal. So anyways, this is just pretty standard. I don't know why. I don't know if Lulu's gonna leash her X. I assume that she is, and bot lane's probably gonna take the golems. Because you have one of two choices. You can either interrupt the Gromp, or you can take the golems, or you can leash for your jungler if he's choosing to start that way. But that's usually very specific routes. So I open laser, and I think this is a mistake. I think I definitely should have opened up Q, and I'm just letting him shove me in, because I'm not too familiar with the Ekko Viktor matchup in mid lane. But then on top of that, you may have noticed already that I have a mistake in my masteries because I don't have a dangerous game. I have the bandit mastery, so I'm getting +1 gold if I miss a minion. Level 2, you have to be careful, obviously, because he got the jump on me. When bot lane gives a kill, I just want to see how it happened, because I think seeing exactly how it happened gives you a general idea of how the lane can possibly go. So when I F key down and I see that it looked like a very clean kill, I wasn't feeling too good. And then I see Lee Sin goes top, and I saw Ekko going that way. So there's a possibility that they try to do a 3-man, and so I spam ping. And I just take a peek at top to see what they're doing with the minion wave. When Ekko comes back into the lane, I feel a little comfortable, but the problem is that right now with Doran's ring, I would probably be at around 270 to like 285 or something mana. But right now I'm like hovering around 140 to 160, so it's really rough. And I really wasn't expecting this, so this was a huge error on my part. I think if I had Duran's Ring and I was playing the lane this way, it would be really beneficial. And I didn't anticipate him to just keep moving forward there, so I ended up missing the laser, because I thought he would move back. When they secure the kills onto bot lane, even though Ekko has teleport, he doesn't have a... he's not in position to make use of it, and nothing's really going to come out of bot lane. And then Lsxyz shows top, so I can just continue doing what I'm doing. And I'm going to be relatively safe, because I know that after the gank in top lane, there's absolutely no way Lsxyz can come mid. So if I can just continue to freeze lock the lane, I'm going to be safe for at least the next 3 minutes. And Ekko, since he has such a mana advantage over me, what he should be trying to do at this point, and even though he's playing the lane, I think, really well, I think he's even out CSing me in some way, a little bit of CS, because I've made a few mistakes. I think that he should have been using his mana as a resource at this point to shove me under. But I think that if he was doing it at specific times where, like, the minions are softened up, so what I'm talking about is, like, right now. If these minions basically come under my turret right now, I don't have enough mana for a laser. So if he was going to go for a burst on the minions, he should do it, like, right around now, so that he can make sure that this minion wave gets into the tower range fast enough so that I can't do anything with it. But I felt like, even though he was playing the lane really well, he could have played it a lot better if he just paid more attention to my mana. And then also he let me do this, which didn't make any sense, because I feel like he could have denied me 2 out of 3 here. I missed that one because I didn't send the attack soon enough. So I was going to recall because I saw him move over to the right-hand side, but then I saw that he stayed in lane. And again, I'm completely safe against Lsxyz because there's absolutely no way that he can pull off any sort of a gank in mid. And we're both too far away from level 6. So I don't have to be afraid of some sort of all-in where Ekko is going to tank the tower because he's relatively healthy. There, it was a pretty big mistake to miss the cannon minion. I'm getting a little bit flustered right now because I need a recall, but in order to get a recall off, I need Lsxyz assistance. If Lsxyz was going to go for a gank right there, he would have came around from Wraiths, in which case I probably would have just had to burn my flash. So this is where I need Lsxyz to cover. So the cover is a little bit late. It should have been a little bit sooner, but it doesn't really matter. So I end up just completing into Augment Death Ray, and then I just get a pink ward. Pink ward's really important because you really need to establish vision control, and because they're playing dual teleport, and because Ekko is playing the lane in such a way that he has a lot of roam potential, the pink wards are really going to help out. But also because Lsxyz is so mobile. So when Lsxyz shows bottom, I just kind of pay attention to the fight, because I need to see if there's going to be a chance for Ekko to try to teleport down. But I think I can't. I don't think I checked for teleport in mid if he used it. But then one teleport goes off, and it's from Ryze, and now Ekko has 6, and it doesn't look like he was trying to set up for a teleport, or he doesn't look like he had any interest in going bottom, so I was content with just backing up. But I stepped too far forward, and I ended up getting punished for it. I should have stepped about, like, 2 centimeters back or so, and then he wouldn't be able to pull that combo off, and I would have been completely fine, and the lane would have been in my favor. I think that this Death Ray, it's not so bad. I just want to begin to poke him right now. Because he didn't choose to roam bottom, what's going to end up happening is he's not going to have anything to do now, at least for the next 2 minutes or so. And he's going to be really reliant on Lsxyz to do anything. But if he does try to go to Dragon, they already basically won Dragon, if they wanted it. So by poking his HP, I can basically force him into a situation where now he has to play cautious for a little bit, even though I don't deal too much damage, because he's a tank Ekko. And that right there, that was pretty interesting. I don't know if that was a read or if I just read. I mean, I guess I could have looked at his DI input and seen that his face turned. But I thought that obviously the next step would be to come into me, and then combo. So I sent the Death Ray backwards, but it wasn't that good. So it was a poor read. And then here, I think also, given my HP and his HP, I should have just pulled the minions up, so it was pretty poor. I ended up missing a CS for it, and that's pretty bad, especially because of the recall phases. He has a lot of recall utility over me. So every, like, 6 CS in this matchup is actually really big, because that almost equates to the difference in our components. The only recall, I guess you could argue that I would have over him would be if we go even CS in the first recall, because I get Augment Death Ray. And if he was going tank, he would need 1100 for Spectre's Cowl, or he would need Sheen 1050, so I would be able to have 2 CS Grace, period, or like a Grace Cap, whatever. I just get a second pink ward, and the reason for this is because now I'm thinking about roaming. And the reason that I'm thinking about roaming is because the initial pressure relief didn't come fast enough, so I fell a little bit behind in CS. It's also, I guess, expected that I would fall behind in CS because my itemization, again, about the Doran's ring really hurt me early on. And then I was making some mistakes in laning phase. So I end up falling down like 8 or so, I think, after all is said and done, which isn't really acceptable. And I also don't think that he's dirty farming. I should have been dirty farming small raptors or small wraiths, whatever you want to call them, much sooner. Here, when we come here, I didn't want to go any further than this, primarily because I felt like this was just a free dragon, but I turn on Ghost anyway, and then I back off because I don't know where Ekko is. We know that Ryze doesn't have teleport, but that's kind of irrelevant, because if Ekko sends in his W and Callista does some sort of a wombo combo, it's going to be really ugly because it didn't look like Ezreal was moving up at all. And I didn't want to risk any sort of a team fight because I didn't feel like we were in a good enough position. So when I shoved that wave in, I know that Ekko doesn't have any wards on the right-hand side, primarily because Alistar was forced out. So if we do a roam onto bottom before Alistar hits 6, we can capitalize on the timing. So there's a very, very thin timing window that we need to hit, and I knew that Rek'Sai was on the right-hand side, and we would have the Wraith camp in case Lee Sin tried to come. So it's pretty standard that we have to kill Alistar first because we can't risk him getting 6 in the middle of the fight. I think this is an error by Lee Sin. I think he should have gone for a Q onto me because in that case, I would have ended up having to flash. But anyways, Ekko ends up roaming down via a run. I don't totally agree with Ekko's decision here, but it's not the worst. So now, when this happens, I want to protect Ezreal, but I also feel like that we can kill Lee Sin if I can bait him into hitting me and then pulling on the Q. I feel like I can pull him into the tower if he throws his Q, and then I can wait. So I intentionally try to get hit by Lee, and then after Lee Sin hits me with the Q, I wait for the pull, and then I just pull him back into the tower, and we're going to kill him. If Ekko ends up overcommitting, then we're also going to get Ekko. And then Lulu waits until the very last second to get the teleport off, which was really, really nice, because it basically enticed them to keep coming further and further, and now we get a chance to kill them. I think that this W by me is actually a little bit poor. I think it should have been angled a little bit more to the northeast. Or it just in general, I think I should have done a Death Ray and shot a yellow trinket into the brush. I think that might have been a better decision. Here I just try to clean up as much CS as possible because there's obviously no way that Ezreal can get to it. Trundle's apologizing because he said that he didn't see Ekko coming, and so he died to him, which was fine. So Ekko got a lot of CS in that, but my team got a lot out of that, and it set Lee Sin really far behind, and Alistar still is going to be compromised in the laning phase. And it also certainly hurts Callista, because now the lane is going to be pushing into my bot lane, which is going to be exactly what Ezreal wants. And now with Spell Thieves, me and Lulu have a lot of control. I'm basically immune to ganks at this point because of Spell Thieves, and I also have a lot of roam potential as soon as my ultimate's back up again. So right now, all I'm thinking about is coming mid, shoving the wave, and then going and getting blue. I wanted to meet the wave at the tower, but then Marin ends up showing up, going for an invade on Rek'Sai. I still wanted to get blue, but I guess Ryze already probably got it. We see Lee Sin on the right-hand side. It's really important that you click on the jungler and you check their buffs, because there's a chance that, maybe you could see that he still had a Wraith buff, or maybe he had a Krug buff, and then you know that camps down. So that's what I tried to do there. Here I just try to use the shield from my Q to absorb as much damage as possible, because I don't want to miss any CS. I see Ekko on the right-hand side, and Rek'Sai's pinging it, so I go in and I proc Spell Thieves, because I just want to make sure that we're not getting baited into something. And then when we come here, I send the Death Ray in a way that I think he would be moving into, because he would anticipate that I would just send the laser straight up. This trade, I'm not so happy about it, because I feel like it could have been a lot worse. Marin, or Ryze, whatever, he's a little indecisive with his rooting, so it ends up not being as bad as I think it could have been. I would have liked just actually chunking Ekko and not going for a kill, and then just enabling myself to go back into laning phase, because then I can shove the wave into tower, and then we can collapse on dragon. I think that would be a much better macro decision. So this is a very ugly spot where, because all of my teammates were in mid, there was absolutely no chance for me to get any sort of gold, and wraiths weren't up. So I didn't want to recall until 1,000 gold because I wanted my second augmentation, and now because I recalled with just 800, I don't really have an efficient buy anywhere, so I just have to get boots and basically suck it up. So it really, really, really sucks. In hindsight, I guess I could have gotten like 2 fairy charms, as weird as that sounds, because I definitely want to go into Morellonomicon. And then Callista ends up going off, so we're just going to watch this fight one more time. And this was really unfortunate because I thought that the fight was going to be okay. So we killed Lee Sin, but then Callista ended up getting out by the skin of her teeth, and then everything just kind of turns around, and it's really unfortunate because 4 of my teammates go down, and we don't have a teleport up. So what I'm thinking right now is I just need to get basically to try to save Trundle, and if I can't save Trundle, then I need to basically decide on just what I need to do. So I come in here, and it looks like I'm wasting time, and to some extent, I think I am. I think that my movement here could have been a little bit better, and I think I also should have lasered wraiths. Because even though there's a minion wave approaching onto me, I don't think I can really do anything about it until I'm at the tower anyway. It's not like I want to be lasering it when it's in front of the tower. So here I just try to poke Ekko a little bit, because I don't want him to be able to just have complete free reign, and I don't want him to be completely full on HP. So I want to force him to either use mana or take a lot of damage HP-wise. But he didn't take too much damage because he's going tank Ekko. So the scary thing right now is, even though the score is even, their team comp scales a lot harder than us, because of the Callista, the Ryze, and the Ekko. Although there is going to come a point, which is probably going to be around the 40-minute mark, where our comp is going to actually have a slight kick over theirs in terms of itemization completion. But then on top of that, the other thing is all of us are falling behind in CS, which isn't good. So even though the kill score is relatively even, and we're also going to get a tower, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're too far ahead in gold. So the game is really, really even, which is something that we didn't want to be happening, but it unfortunately is happening. Oh, I didn't even notice that Callista has Call and Ezreal doesn't, so that's really bad. I ended up messing up the Viktor animation cancel. I should have been able to get that. I was actually really happy to be able to use it a few times this game. I used it in, I think in 2 key moments I used it this game, so it's really nice. But I missed some opportunities to use it this game for sure. Here we just get Dragon, and I think that I stayed too long getting Dragon. I think I should have pulled back about 2 or 3 seconds sooner to get into mid. And now Trundle pinged on the way, so I popped Spell Thieves. And then chasing them that far I think was a little stupid, unless we were going to immediately get Herald, which is what I wanted to do. And I thought they were going to respond with it instantly. Because once we shove them past, like, it's important to know that once they go beyond this threshold right here, if they go anywhere beyond here, they can't actually come around anymore. Like, it is impossible to do this route. There's no way for them to do this. And they've already lost vision control all over here. So there is absolutely no way for them to get any sort of flanks off, and they would have already overcommitted in terms of positioning. So from here, we have one of 2 choices. We can either escort them out of here into their own red side jungle, and then from there we can constrict the area into Herald and capitalize into Herald, and then move it into mid lane and then shove mid lane, which is what I wanted to do, and I don't think it's outside of the realm of possibility at this MMR to coordinate. Or alternatively, we can just shove them out, and basically we can prevent them from coming back into mid by controlling the river brush and controlling this between wraiths and the ledge, and then we can just get mid tower. And then after we get mid tower, we can escort the wave up once, and then we can go and get Herald with 2 or 3 of us, while one of us maintains control over mid, use the Baron recall, get back into the lane, and everything's fine. But When like me going this far, this is really bad. Because I ended up missing like 3 CS for this, so that's sort of not acceptable. So I ping Herald because I thought that they're on it, so I was just pinging them, and then pings kept going down on the tier 2, but I think that's definitely an overextension. So you can see as soon as we kill the tower, I'm in a very controlling situation. I don't really have a lot of damage because my build path is not meant for damage, it's meant for control. So because I'm taking a very controlling approach on Viktor, I need to be extremely aware of my positioning inside of the team fights, and I need to be aware of like where everyone's coming in from. Because I'm basically extremely vulnerable if I do get caught, but if I don't get caught, I can be a nightmare. So when we come over to Herald and it's still up, this is actually really, really good. Herald is really underestimated. If you're like a jungler or like a mid or a top or something watching this, always look to get Herald. Even if it means that you miss 2 or 3 CS, that doesn't matter because the gold from Herald pays for that, and then you give all of your laners 3 or 4 CS. It's honestly one of the most disgusting neutral objectives in the game, and it's extremely undervalued across all regions, so it's one of the most powerful things. I mess up my laser here, and because of that, I don't end up getting the second wolf. Sad life. And now here, I just want to make sure that mid-wave, they don't have any minions for it. And then when they lose this cannon wave, I know that I can recall because they're not going to have any sieging power, especially because Ryze is in top lane and there's nothing else to really contest. And then Ezreal's in bottom, and he's just going to be able to lock that up and freeze it, so it's completely fine. You may have also noticed throughout this game, there's a lot of F key usage, and that's just to take a quick glance at the position of everyone and what they're doing for the next few seconds. And then also, if you're watching this and you're wondering why the escape key keeps getting hit, that's just a simple hand reset that I do. So at this point, when I see Ekko in bottom, I feel like they've conceded any sort of authority over the mid part of the map, and it doesn't mean that they're going to be looking for any sort of fights. So at this point in the game, I feel really safe, although I still feel pressured because there is that ticking time bomb where they're just going to blow up before us. With that laser, I was just trying to steal any rates if they were up, but none were there. Lsxyzcoaching going bottom, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, but like this right here by me, this is really bad. When I move in like this, if Alistar has flash, I'm potentially throwing the game. So this is actually really, really greedy. Especially because Lulu already used Whimsy, and Lsxyzcoaching and Ezreal were out of position. So we don't know necessarily where Ekko is at this point in time, and even without Ekko, I feel like they can easily just snipe me down there. So I think that that movement that I did was really greedy, and I should have just moved through river. Here, I just wanted to look to try to potentially kill Ryze if he stayed too long. Because with double Frost Queens, there's absolutely no way that him or anyone that comes to his aid is going to be able to do anything. And because I have the second augment on Viktor, my movement speed when I activate the Q is just out of control. And there's going to be basically no way for Ekko to stick to me if he were for some reason to show up at top. So Ekko shows up in bottom again, and Ezreal is making his way mid. So at this point, I feel really content that now we can initiate a siege, or like we can basically feign an attack onto mid to try to bait an attack from them. And if we can successfully do that, we will pull away any sort of pressure that they can make in bottom or top. So some people might be wondering, like, is a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about right now going through my head in the game? And I feel like it's not necessarily that you have to think about stuff like this. It's mostly about recognizing patterns. A lot of the situations that are presenting themselves, like such as like if I do a freeze frame right here, there is going to be a lot of times where there are games like this where a jungler, specifically, you know, obviously who the jungler is can change some of the variables. If it's a Gragas, if it's a Shyvana, if it's a Yi, it's a Lsxyzcoaching, if it's a Kindred, you know, whatever. It's only going to slightly alter the final answer to what, you know, can happen, or final answers, I guess I should say. And all that you really have to do is you have to recognize what that means for the minimap, like what is possible and what certain people can do. Obviously, if someone is unnaturally fed, or if they're, the complete opposite, if they're underfed, and they're really gimped and they don't have any items, then, you have to factor that in as well. But for the most part, it's just recognizing patterns. So you don't actually have to think about all of this stuff as long as you've thought about it in the past. And then it's sort of like autopilot, and you're able to basically hold conversations with yourself about other stuff that's going on inside of the game. The best way I guess I would describe it is as a conversation. So here, when I really wanted to kill Rek'Sai, or I really wanted to kill Lsxyz or Ekko with Rek'Sai, so I popped Ghost and I popped Frost Greens, but it ended up being a pretty big mistake. Because I felt like if we kill either one of them there, we can force Ryze out of his little turtle in top lane, and we can initiate a siege onto bottom. And then following that siege, we can capitalize on Dragon, and then we can recall Protect mid, and then it's going to synergize directly with contesting Baron in the next few minutes. And again, this is just like a simple pattern recognition that you have to be aware of. So right here, I just want to recall and get Void Staff. Void is like a 2.5 item here. I wouldn't really classify this as a third item because of the itemization. And primarily I get Void Staff because I know that Ekko has Spirit Visage, and I know that with Solari's Locket, it's going to probably give me quite a lot of burst, and it's going to enable me to be dealing damage with a build that otherwise would not really deal damage. And I can't afford to go into Death Cap right here. Rylai's is going to be completely useless. Zhonya's is going to be completely irrelevant. Abyssal Scepter is no good because their MR values are going to be too high. At least right now it's not going to be good enough. I will end up getting Abyssal Scepter in this game. But if I were to build it before Void Staff, it, I think, would have been a relatively poor choice. But I know that a lot of people, when this game was live, was criticizing the build path, and I completely agree about the initial build path with the Frost, or the Spell Thieves, or whatever. And I definitely would change that. I would have a Doron start into Spell Thieves, but yeah. They end up stealing my blue, and this is actually really frustrating because that blue is absolutely gigantic because there's a big team fight that's about to take place. And the reason that we know that there's a big team fight about to take place is because a major neutral objective is up. So it's really annoying that I don't have blue for that fight. So it's really good on them to basically steal that blue away from me. And then, I had my previous blue stolen as well, so really unfortunate. Now we just want to collapse and get Dragon. I saw Lsxyz coming in, so I'm just going to shoot basically a blank laser. Now, when I see Kalista already starting it, I feel like really sad because basically I feel like, okay, if Kalista's already starting it, and the way that she jumped away, which was she just jumped like this, I feel like Baron or Dragon is close to dying, even though we don't have any vision on it. And the reason that I think that is because I think if Dragon wasn't close to dying, she will leap like this. And then on top of that, I feel like when Ryze comes out of when Ryze comes over here to try to contest an advance from us, I feel like, yes, Dragon is about to die. So I already feel really sad because I know that Lsxyz is right here right now, given that he was here about 3 seconds ago. And I know that Ekko can definitely get here in time, so it's not like I'm not factoring him into the team fight. So I send this laser because I wasn't anticipating him to just run into me. So it was a little bit weird. Lulu ends up teleporting in a position that cuts off Ekko, which was really good. I get onto Kalista after I burst down Marin, and now we just turn on to Ekko. And the reason that we instantly turn on to Ekko, I think, is because if we do end up killing him, and if for some reason we could have got onto him and, initiated some sort of fight with him, it would translate immediately into Baron. And I think if we had an opportunity to do so, if Lulu pops ulti right here, I'm pretty sure Ekko dies. So I think that it's a mistake on her. Right there, I think if she gets the knock-up onto him, I think that all the slows combined eventually means that we could kill him. Rek'Sai certainly probably would have been able to chain knock-up, and then Trundle with Pillar. We would kill Ekko, and then we can get Baron. Right here, there's a Baron call by Trundle and by Rek'Sai. I didn't like this call so much because I have no mana. I basically have like one Death Ray, and so this is a very ugly fight. And now I'm just trying to deal as much damage as possible. I have red, so I'm trying to make use of my Q as much as possible, and I'm not really prioritizing E as much. And then this is just really unfortunate, because now we see Callista coming over from Wraiths, and we end up killing Alistar, but, you know, Ekko is a balanced champion, very fair, and, you know, nice champ. Now, flashing there wouldn't be the best, because, yes, I could certainly live, and I could certainly get out, but if I use Flash, or if I use Ghost here, for any reason, what's going to end up happening is, in the next team fight, which is going to be the real fight, I'm not going to have either one of them. So I would rather just accept and embrace the death right there, and then just go for, you know, the Flash and the Ghost in the next team fight, and try to win the decisive fight. Because that battle right there was not a decisive battle. If that battle somehow translated into Baron for them, I certainly would flash out. And the reason that I would flash out is just to, you know, get into position and then come back in and try to stall and, you know, deny the Baron attempt, or whatever that I can do to prevent Baron from being taken. But because I know that they're not in a position to get Baron, there's no reason to use any of my summoner spells. So right here, all that we need to do is reestablish control over mid. And then if you can reestablish control over mid, we can just basically play a Baron fight, or a Baron bait. But really, I want to try to get Morello before the next fight, because that'll really put a hinder on Ekko and on Ryze. And Callista, too, to some extent, but not as much on Callista. I really want a Scuttle Crab. I feel like we were undervaluing it just now. When Ekko was on Ezreal in mid lane, I felt like really frustrated, because at this point in the game, any sort of a pick or anything immediately translates into some objective, whether it's a tower or a Baron or Vision. Because at this point in the game, Vision technically is an objective, because there's going to be so many wards down, and there's going to be, it's so difficult to get those wards and clear those wards. All right, let me just go back really quick. Vision is technically an objective right now, as I was saying, because it is so hard to actually establish proper vision and then deny vision simultaneously. So at this point in the game, technically vision is an objective. So even if they were to kill Trundle and not actually have enough manpower to get a tower or force a Baron onto it, they can still establish complete domination over vision in a particular spot on the map. And that in itself is an objective. So it's really annoying seeing teammates potentially get caught out or get bursted out of the fight to the point where they would have to recall. When they overstep, I really just want to kill Callista. That's all I'm thinking about. Now, this is a huge mistake by me, because I should have actually placed the gravity field to stop Marin's teleport, but I didn't. So this teleport should have been instantly shut down by a gravity field, but I didn't do it, and it ends up almost costing us. So I end up getting insected right into Marin. He doesn't lock me up. Trundle throws up the pillar to prevent them from getting onto me. And then basically it's just I need to survive. Because if I survive, the long-range AoE that's going to be coming out of me is going to be too much for them to handle. And because as long as Ekko can't burst me down instantly, there's no hope for him getting me anymore. Because the movement speed from my Q and the shield that's going to be given to me from it is just going to be too much. This gravity field, I think, is okay, even though it didn't end up really catching anything. And that's primarily because Lee Sin was behind, so if he did for some reason latch on to someone, there's no way for him to reliably jump back into the fight. So now, as soon as this fight ends, we don't really have enough... so this is one of those situations that I was just talking about. We don't really have enough manpower to do too much. Thankfully, me and Ezreal are able to get the mid tower, but a lot of this is due to him having red buff. If he didn't have red buff, as you can see, it's actually really close. If he didn't have red buff, we probably wouldn't have been able to get that tower. And this is one of those situations that I was talking about. However, if we couldn't get the tower, we definitely could have just gotten complete control over Baron Vision. And that's why I was talking about that it's sort of an objective at this point in the game. So now I just get Morel and Omicron. And the reason that I get Morel and Omicron is it gives me a slight boost in AP. And then obviously I want the passive and I want the mono regen. There's no other reason. And then I just get a Null Magic Mantle because the next item that I'm going to be getting is the Abyssal Scepter. And that's just because I want some tankiness so that Ryze can't just light me up or Ekko can't light me up. and I really need to get this blue, because the blue is a game changer on Viktor. Even though I'm already capped at CDR, that's completely irrelevant. I just need the mana to sustain inside of the team fights. And now what I'm really hoping for at this point in the game, and I'm sure some of my teammates as well on some of their summoner spells, is that I really just want to wait until Ghost is up. Because fighting without summoner spells over a major objective or a decisive battle is something that you really don't want to do. And if you can just sort of back up, farm, as long as it's not directly going into one of their core items, like they're able to complete the core item before your summoner spell is up, and that core item is absolutely gigantic to some sort of power spike or some sort of wake up, it's generally going to be the correct decision. I really wanted to kill Rise here, but I know that if I go any further, they're just going to immediately ping on to Baron because we don't have any teleport, or I don't have a teleport, so I can't reliably get to Baron in time to do anything. And then without me, I'm a lot of the team's kills right now. I probably have the most gold on the team by a few thousand. So without having me inside of the team fight, that is a lot of damage missing. So now this is really awkward. So getting into this dragon is going to be a little bit difficult. Because I feel like Alistar is misplaying. I think that he should be probably standing somewhere around here. And then Ekko, dancing around here is definitely going to be a huge threat to any sort of our backline because he can basically make any distance that he wants into our backline. So with that being said, I feel like they're making a huge mistake, and this should have actually been really difficult to try to break into. But fortunately, they misplayed their position and were able to get in. But I want to stay in the backline because I don't want to get caught by Ekko's W. And I wanted to make sure to just stay out of range of that. Because it doesn't matter if Trundle goes down or if Lsxyzcoaching goes down immediately. If I can just live inside of the team fight a little bit longer, the damage that I'm going to be able to get out is going to be huge. So this is one of those situations where I just need to get someone down. And end up killing Kalista, and then the gravity field locked Ekko in place. I should have turned on Ghost a little bit sooner. And that gravity field was clutch because Ekko tries to go back in to assassinate me, and then he ends up dying. Right here, this is really greedy by me. They obviously have Marin. I should have just done a max range laser, and I should have been done with it. Especially because I don't have Ryle or anything. It's not like I'm adding any sort of CC. And that was actually really sick that Ezreal dodged that, because I think if he gets hit by that, I think Lsxyzcoaching can actually clean it up. We'll probably still win the fight regardless. I think Lsxyzcoaching will clean up, but it just would have been a little bit more gold going over to their team. So it's not the end of the world. Getting the second dragon is pretty big because they still have 2 outer turrets remaining, and we definitely benefit from winning a decisive fight and then just running straight up, mid lane or something, because we want to end the game within the next 10 minutes. But if we do get it to, the next 10 minutes, next 13 minutes, there is going to be a shift where temporarily Ekko and Rise will fall off, and then it enables our team comp to kick in. So here, I just upgrade Hex Core, because it's the only thing I can really do. I don't want to be selling Frost Queen, and I just want to get Negatron for a little bit more MR. So there's nothing else that I can really do. Trundle just timing the flash on Kalista. And now I'm completely content to have another major team fight because I have flash up. So I only had to use Ghost in the last fight, which isn't bad at all. And I want to keep farming as much as possible. My CS is not very good this game, but the game is quite chaotic, so it's not so bad. And then on top of that, I don't really have teleport, and I haven't really been able to make use of any of the side lanes. And there's been a lot of attention in mid lane. But I wasn't feeling very good about the CS, because I should definitely be able to probably have Abyssal Scepter right now. In most games, I would be able to have Abyssal, but it's been so chaotic. This Baron, I hit it because we were talking about baiting it, making it look like we were going to get it. But then not doing it, so you're going to see all of us turn in a second. And this is pretty standard, so we just want to get them to come in, because we know that we win the team fight. And Ekko ends up missing his W, and he gets polymorphed, and then I see Kalista in the backline. So as soon as Kalista's back there, I just pop a laser in her face, and I get out. And again, I just want to stay out of range of Alistar. It's all about just a positioning game right now. As long as Alistar can't knock me up or Ekko can't get a W onto me, I'm basically immortal. And then right here, I know that if Ekko goes down, we probably actually win the game outright. So I tried to go for a flash laser, but he ends up responding with the flash. But fortunately, Lsxyzcoaching gets onto him, and he goes for a kind of coin flippy attempt to kill me, but I guess he was probably dead either way. But I was prepared mentally. So now all that we have to do is get to Baron, and I know that Lsxyzcoaching is going to go for a steal, because basically their only chance to win the game right now is to go for any sort of a steal. I just Q onto the mini Wraith to get a speed up. Place the gravity field exactly where he was going, and then we end up securing the Baron, and we kill Lsxyzcoaching. But Lulu, unfortunately, ends up dying. Unlucky. So now, I guess there's definitely an argument that I could have sold Frost Queen and picked up Deathcap, but instead I just want the Abyssal Scepter, because the 70 AP is pretty nice, and then also the pen. I just want the utility, and I just want the durability over just having the raw damage. So I can complete Deathcap with my next item, but I certainly want to get level 16 before the next fight, so I'm going to go over to blue, and I'm going to pick up Top Wave. One thing I wasn't doing enough of this game as well, though, if, I critique myself more, is in some of the really high-pressure fights, I wasn't clicking close enough to Viktor. And that can actually really matter for the control over his avatar when doing some of his movements with Q and E. And that's something that I noticed that I wasn't doing enough of, so it's actually really bad. But I haven't played Viktor in quite some time, so I'm not so... disappointed with it, but it's definitely something that I need to do more. And now here, all that we have to basically do is we need to constrict their ability to get into our backline, because again, if they can't get onto me, the game is over. And then on top of that, I want to basically protect Ezreal. So I want to be using my gravity field defensively. I don't want to be using it to sort of split any terrain or and that was a gold V ultimate. I'm gonna see that arcane or that barrage in the next game. There it goes. All right. So anyways, like I was saying, I just want to be using the gravity field defensively. And I interrupt Ryze's combo. And we're just going to end up beating up on Alistar. I think that this is a mistake. When I chase with the laser onto Lsxyzcoaching and Ryze, for some reason, I just had in my mind that my laser would slow. Like, I thought I had Rylai's. Honest to God, that's what I thought. And I'm like, wait a minute, I don't have Rylai's. So I just turn around and I just keep hitting on Alistar. Because he's the only kill. And it doesn't matter if I continue to chase in, because if I try to chase in, there's a chance that Ryze can try to turn onto me, and there's absolutely no way that I can peel against him at that point in time. Unfortunately there, I think I did a little bit bad. I think I could have chunked Callista. Which it just would have meant that she has to go back to the fountain. But now we should be able to get the tower. She doesn't end up going back, but that doesn't really matter because her HP is relatively healthy and she has more than enough mana to do whatever she needs to. So we're going to end up getting the inhibitor now. And now we're just going to back off and get dragon. But the problem with the dragon is that we have to be cognizant of if they can get to us in time. And as you can see, Ezreal is basically saying, watch out. So stealing the blue, I think, is okay. And one thing that we have to entertain is if they get this dragon, it doesn't really mean anything. So I ping back because it doesn't matter if they get this. It's their second Drake, I think. Yeah, it's their second dragon. So they're never going to be in a position to really make use of that second dragon. And it's not like it's adding to any sort of Exodia condition. Like if that was the third dragon and that would be their fourth dragon, it would be really unfortunate if they were to get it. So what probably would have happened is you wouldn't have seen us do wolves in blue. We probably just would have recalled, and someone would have remained behind to sort of stall them to getting to it, and then we would have another major fight instead of dragon. But now, because I know that the major decisive battle is coming up, and it's basically going to be one that is going to be fought in a siege-like position, and the reason that I know that it will be fought in a siege-like position is because they have an inhibitor down, and there's not going to be any neutral objectives to really contest. So the areas that they can look to try to start a fight from is going to be really small. So because of that, Death Cap is probably just going to be the best choice for just a raw damage output and nuking someone down. When Lulu dies, what I was looking to do is just basically actually run into mid in hope that maybe we can stall the recalls. And then once I notice that the super minions are on the Nexus, we just have to try to stall the recalls as much as possible. But unfortunately, we didn't have CLG's RNG, and we didn't end up getting any towers with our minions. So that's a little unlucky. And now all that we were trying to do is just kind of stall this. Lee Sin gets a little bit unlucky right there. I just cast a Chaos Storm to try to do as much damage as I can to him, because the Chaos Storm is mostly going to be irrelevant. They have absolutely no lanes that they can make use of. The only lane that they can make use of is bottom lane, but it doesn't matter because we took the fight in top lane. If we had taken that fight in mid and lost that fight in mid, bot lane would have been really bad, and I probably would have immediately just ran to bot lane in the middle of the fight and just cleared the minion wave. Because sometimes you can inadvertently attack the opponent without attacking them, just by attacking the minion waves. One of the things that I talk about a lot is if you can't stop the Baron, then you attack the Baron by attacking minions. So if you can't, if you're one person remaining, let's say that you're a Viktor, and there's a minion wave at the tier 2 tower in mid or something starting to build up, and you know they're on Baron, you can't do anything about it, just go up and eat that minion wave, and then run bottom and eat the next minion wave. You want to basically take away as much as you can from the use of that Baron. So that's all that you really have to be thinking of when that team fight in top was breaking out. Now Lsxy is just calling for an ulti onto Ekko, and we'll probably win the fight, which is mostly true. Ryze was in bottom, so I don't have to be afraid of anything. Trying to get that blue or whatever, even though there wasn't a lot of vision. I mean, the chances of Ryze, for some reason, being in top would be basically nil, but so now this is pretty clear cut. Top lane is in a relatively good position for us, and now we can just rotate down to bottom. And again, the same thought process remains, that I just want to remain in the back line, protect Ezreal with CC, and continue to use gravity field defensively. There is definitely going to be some comps where you would be using it offensively. For instance, if that Alistar was a Janna, if that Alistar was a Karma, if that Alistar was a Soraka, definitely offensive gravity fields to basically create like a chasm, in the middle of the fight, and then just use my gravity, my death rays to sort of part the Red Sea and try to poke for damage. But because of what their team comp is and how it coordinates, you need to be using gravity field defensively. Obviously, there may be some situations that arise that you use it offensively, but for the most part, the mindset in these fights is I need to be defensive and I need to be control oriented. Because if at any point it becomes like a 3v3, if it's like me, Lulu, Ezreal, or like me, Lsxy, Trundle, me, Lsxy, Lulu, there is absolutely no combination of 3 on their team that can beat us. Because I just have too much control inside of my Q, and the shield that my Q grants. So I'm completely content with like sacrificing a teammate to just make sure that the fight goes as long as possible, because I benefit the most from that. And so does Ezreal. Defensive gravity field on Ryze. And now Ekko, you can see he's gunning for me, and so is Marin. But it doesn't really matter because he's going to go down. I didn't end up casting Chaos Storm yet. And I'll be honest, it was a complete mistake. I thought I cast Chaos Storm when we killed Ekko. But I guess the button press didn't go through or something. I turned on Ghost to kill Ryze because I know that if he goes down here, it's game over. He turns around because there's absolutely no chance for him to escape at this point, and now we just sort of gun up mid. And now I just typed in chat, end. I know with Gravity Field and with the shields from Lulu, even though I don't have Lich Bane, we can easily shred the towers in time, and we have a minion wave in Trundle. It's not like they're going to be able to do anything. Lulu's tanking a lot of damage, and that was a little bit frustrating. Lee Sin unfortunately didn't do. I think what Lee Sin should do there. So let's say that like the death timer on Alistar and Ekko was like 8 seconds sooner. I think what Lee Sin needs to do is you need to sell like boots, and you need to just get Guardian Angel. And you need to just try to do whatever you can to sort of hold those 2 towers. Because there's going to be a lot of situations where that situation is going to present itself, where you have 4 opponents threatening your Nexus towers. What you should do is just sell items and get the get Guardian Angel, and then just try to hold. And that would be it. So that was it for the Viktor commentary game. I'll probably do more games like this in the future, because I think that maybe they can give some insight into decision making that, you know, can actually go into things. Even if some of the decision making can't be used at every single MMR, it's still important to think about it and to entertain it. So that's pretty much all.